In earlier versions of JavaScript, variables were solely declared using the var keyword, followed by the name of the variable and a semicolon. So let's see, var variable name equal sign, the value of the variable, and then the semicolon. This is how we would do it. After ES6, which is a newer version of JavaScript, we now have two new ways of declaring a variable. We can take a look at both of them one by one. The variable let, so we can exchange this var to let. The variable let shares lots of similarities with var, but unlike var, it has some scope constraints. The scope is out of scope of this introductory video, but we will explain it in greater detail in a later video. The only thing that you need to know right now is that let is the preferred way of creating variables in modern JavaScript. So we would do it like this, let variable name and then the value. We also have something known as a const. So let's write it right there. Const. Const is another variable type assigned to data whose values cannot and will not change throughout the whole script. So if we say const variable name is going to be equal to this, we can never reassign variables. What does it mean to reassign variables? Well, let's first go back to let, as we said that is the preferred way of writing variables, and now let's try to reassign the value. So we can then reference the variable name, right there, variable name, and then we can make it equal to something else that is not its initial value. So let's say hello. So right there, I'm going to say variable name is going to be equal to hello, and then we are console logging it. Remember, to see the output, we need to save the file. So right now, I'm going to save the file, and in the console, we get hello. So how did this program execute? First, we declared a variable, we gave it a default value. Then we reassigned the variable, or just we gave it a different value right there to the same variable, and then we console logged it. If we added another console log right there before we changed it, so let's say we want to console log it first and then we want to console log it after the reassignment, we can save that one more time and you can see we first get welcome to variables and then we get hello. If we were to do that with const right there, const variable name, and in here we are redeclaring it, you would get an error. Uncaught type error, assignment to constant variables. That means that we can never reassign values to a constant variable. So if we remove this, now what do you think? Can we name our variables literally anything we want? Well, we have only a few criteria when it comes to creating variable names, also known as identifiers. We have a few rules when it comes to creating an identifier in JavaScript. First rule is that the name of the identifier must be unique. So as you can see, if we copy this and then paste it, you can see we got an error. We broke the first rule. Identifier variable name has already been declared. That way we get an error. We don't get our console logged. So we broke the first rule. If we rename this to variable name 2, and then let's say try to console log it, variable name 2, and we can even change the value. Welcome to variables 2. Let's save that. And as you can see, we got both console logs there. We didn't break the first rule, which is never have two of the same variable names. The second rule is that the name of the identifier should not be any reserved JavaScript keyword. For example, we cannot declare a variable like this. Const let is going to be equal to welcome to variables. If we try doing that, let's see what happens. Uncaught syntax error, let is disallowed as lexically bound name. We can also try const var because we know that the var is a specific thing in JavaScript. It means a variable. So we cannot call a new constant or a new variable var because that's already reserved. So if we try doing this, we get the same thing, unexpected token var. Let's try a few more reserved keywords. We know that const is also not going to work, unexpected token const. And let's say const function. Function is also a reserved keyword. We're going to see that later. So if I try doing this, as you can see, unexpected token function. That means that we cannot use names that JavaScript itself uses. Those are only some limited reserved keywords like var, let, function, and so on. We are going to explore all of them, but basically you can use anything you want. For example, you can say name, and then you can put this to John or whatever, because name is of course not used by JavaScript. That would limit us a lot. So if we just did this, we are cons logging the name John. The third rule of naming variables is that the first character must be a letter. In here we have a letter, an underscore, so we can do underscore name as well, or it must be a $sign. So only $sign, underscore, or any other letter are valid first letters for your variable. That's it. If you put any other special character at the first place, for example, let's say an asterisk sign, you can see immediately we get an error, unexpected token. That's not going to work. All the other characters, besides the first one, can be any letter, digit, or an underscore or a $sign. So we can say name, and then we can put underscore, we can put test, and then the $sign. That's a valid variable name. We can test it one more time right there, and it works. But if we tried something like name and then provided an asterisk, that's not going to work. We cannot use special characters in naming our variables. That's it. So let's go back to the name. Let's just cons log the name. Okay, it works. To recap, there are three different ways to make or declare a variable. There's var, let me write that here. Var, there's also let, so let me write that here real quickly. And there's the const, which we have right there. From now on, whenever we are creating variables, we are going to use either const or the let keyword. Const when variable is going to be constant, or let when we plan on changing it later on. Also, a quick question for you. Which rule of variable naming did we break right here? Try to answer it right now. Of course, we named three variables the same thing, so we get the error identifier name has already been declared. That means we cannot have multiple of the same variable names. Let's move on to the data types to see what kind of data can we store inside of our variables.